Welcome, friends. My name is Vijay Kumar. I'm the Dean of Penn Engineering, and I'm your host of Penn Engineering's Innovation and Impact podcast. Our podcast shares insights from some of the leading experts from around the world who are bringing to you the latest breakthroughs and innovations in science, technology, medicine, and education. Today, we're honored to sit down with Tsu-Jae Liu. Dr. Liu is the president of the National Academy of Engineering, a role she assumed in July of 2025. Dr. Liu is a widely respected leader at the intersection of engineering, innovation, and academia. Trained as an electrical engineer at Stanford University, she spent nearly 3 decades at UC Berkeley, where she served most recently as the Dean of the College of Engineering. Dr. Liu is internationally known for co-developing the FinFET transistor, technology behind today's most advanced computer chips and smartphones. She's the author of more than 550 publications and holder of 97 U.S. patents. She's a member of the National Academy of Engineering and National Academy of Inventors and a fellow of the IEEE. She has served on corporate boards, including Intel and Max Linear, and has advised many agencies on science, technology, and workforce development. Thank you so much for joining us, Dr. Liu. Dr. Liu, you have led as a researcher, a dean, and now president of the National Academy of Engineering. Just a general question, what perspective do you bring to this role at this moment for engineering?
That's a wonderful question, Vijay. Thank you for inviting me to have a conversation on this important topic. I think at this time, I bring a perspective from academia as an educator for decades, but also I served on the boards of multiple publicly traded companies, so I do have a perspective from industry as well. And of course, I've been a researcher myself, so I bring all these perspectives together to bear on the challenges that our nation is facing today.
And you're an inventor. You have many, many patents to your name.
That's true. It's part of the work of an engineer, I believe.
Absolutely. So as president of the National Academy of Engineering, I wonder if you could say a little bit about what you hope to achieve. And maybe this is a two-part question, given everything that's going on in Washington, D.C. and the geopolitical conflicts we have. Perhaps it's a short-term answer and a long-term answer, and they could be different. So any which way you want to take this.
Sure. All right. So first of all, the National Academy of Engineering is part of the National Academies of Sciences, Engineering, and Medicine, and it's based in Washington, D.C. It's a nonprofit, nonpartisan, independent organization that was chartered by Congress during Abraham Lincoln's time. And its mission is really to advance the welfare of the nation by providing advice when called upon to our nation's leaders. And for the National Academy of Engineering, we marshal expertise from engineering leaders across the nation to advise our nation's leaders on matters pertaining to engineering and technology. And today, a lot of U.S. industry is really searching hard for state-of-the-art engineering talent. And this talent gap is only growing. So in the short term, what I would like to do is to have the NAE help to facilitate collaboration across the nation to address this growing talent gap. Because if we don't address it, then the U.S. will not be able to keep up in the technology race, and that will not be good for the long-term welfare of the United States. So my long-term goal is really to ensure the long-term prosperity and national security of our nation.
That is so true. We're both in the talent business. Ultimately, if you don't have the talent, you're not able to solve the nation's biggest challenges, problems. Yeah. I wonder if I could go back to something that Benjamin Franklin said. Benjamin Franklin, of course, was Penn's founder, and he held the conviction that those who benefit from discovery have a responsibility to contribute their own innovations to humanity. As you think about engineering solutions today, they increasingly shape daily life from AI to climate change to sustainability. Do you worry that sometimes we've lost track of this, that engineering innovation might not necessarily be headed in the right direction?
Well, so I have to say science and engineering go together to create new technologies that will benefit society. And so institutions such as Penn is an exemplar for advancing knowledge through scientific discovery, and it also is strong in engineering, innovating new technologies that take advantage of the latest discoveries and knowledge to somehow improve people's lives. So I do believe that both science and engineering are important to ensure a prosperous and safe and secure future for the nation and for the world. And I think engineers should really keep that in mind fundamentally, including when we're educating students to become engineers, that this is all about somehow improving life for people and for our global society.
So, to put a fine point, how do we ensure that engineering serves the greater good, the public good?
So that's a loaded question. It actually can be answered by thinking how we educate future engineering leaders to think ethically, responsibly, socially, as well as environmentally, and also to be aware of any potential negative consequences of their work, their innovations. If we can instill in engineers this automatic consideration of the positive and negative potential positive and negative impacts on people and society, I think we can help to ensure that as we advance technology, it will be for the benefit of humanity.
Mm-hmm. I wonder if you could say a little bit about your own career as a researcher, as an innovator in the field of semiconductor technology. I know you're known for the FinFET technology, for example, but there are so many other things you've done, and I wonder if you could say a little bit about your own accomplishments, the ones that you're most proud of.
Well, really, as a professor, I think you can relate that the biggest contribution that we make is actually in the talent that we prepare to serve society. So I think my biggest accomplishments have been achieved through my students, my former students. They go on and achieve so much more than I could ever accomplish on my own. So that's the most fulfilling part of being an engineering educator and researcher. So it's fulfilling to see that many of my former students are now leaders in industry and in academia, helping to shape a better future for all.
It's a great answer. That's the one privilege we have as an academic.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes, you can watch the talent multiply.
Yes, but I think that also reminds us as educators that these are not only our students. We should think of them as future leaders. Engineers design and build the future. So it's nice to have that perspective in dealing with in educating and learning from students.
I'm going to ask you a question that maybe I'm sure you've thought about this, but not quite in your mandate as the president of the Academy of Engineering. I'm sure you think about engineering writ large, and I, as an academic, you always place bets as to where you think the future is going. And I wonder if you could say a little bit as a researcher, as an inventor, now bringing that experience that you have of so many decades. What do you think is going to pay off in the next few years? So if I were to advise a young student to pursue a particular area, what do you think that should be?
Well, I think for students, we should encourage them to develop a broad set of skills that can be adapted to different specialties. Because I think the pace of change in this world is accelerating because of technological advancements. So I think, first of all, we can tell students and prepare them for specific applications of their knowledge and skills. But more broadly, they should know that going to school, earning a degree or other certificate is really about learning how to learn and learning how to adapt your knowledge and skills continually. But coming back to your fundamental question, I think with the advances in information and communication technology that has enabled the AI revolution, I think many disciplines of engineering are going to be very exciting as we advance progress in improving the reliability of infrastructure, energy supply, advancing progress in medicine more rapidly, just advancing science, the scientific discovery. I think we really can't imagine what the future will be like in an AI-powered era. But I think it'll be exciting. But of course, we have to make sure that technology advances truly for the benefit of humanity. And for that reason, it's important to be inclusive and make sure that our engineering innovation teams comprise a diversity of people who can represent all walks of life to make sure that nobody is being left behind. The worst thing that can happen is for a technology advancement to leave people behind and exacerbate inequities, because that can create fundamentally more conflict in the world. And we want to promote not only a prosperous and healthy, sustainable world, but also a more peaceful world.
You spoke an hour ago at the Bordonia Forum, where you reminded us of the Sputnik moment, which was a great time and for engineers, and also President John F. Kennedy's challenge to put a man on the moon. And I wonder, thinking back to that, whether that time has come again as we think about the space race.
Yes.
And I wonder if you've thought about that and if you think that is still a big challenge for the nation.
Yes, I think it's a challenge. We are in a new type of space race. Again, just like during the Sputnik era, Americans were concerned that another country could spy on us and monitor everything we do. But today, with the constellations of satellites that are orbiting the Earth, pretty much the country that dominates in space, in near Earth orbit space, can end up dominating the world. Because if you monitor and control the flow of information anywhere in the world at any time, you can actually influence what people believe and think and do. And so not only is it a economic advantage to have information to maximize your business economic prosperity, but also a national security issue. And so I think it's important for the United States to win the space race. If we want to promote civil liberties and individual freedoms, I think we should all be concerned that we need to work together to win this race.
Absolutely. So it's wonderful how things come back around, and
Yes.
I feel like 60 years later we're saying the same thing again, which is great.
Yes.
Can I switch back to thinking about the talent pipeline and education? I know you're very passionate about this. And of course, broadening participation in engineering continues to be a national priority. I wonder if you can comment on your years as dean at Berkeley and tell us what worked, what did not work. I know you championed inclusive excellence.
Yes.
What does that mean to you, and how might we operationalize this at Penn and other institutions?
Wonderful. Thanks for the question. I'm sure you're already doing some of the things that we did at Berkeley when I was dean there. But I think the key is to encourage and inspire students to pursue engineering, because the nation needs so many engineers in the future, now and into the future, for the foreseeable future. And so students who come to us, we have a responsibility to help them not only survive the rigorous engineering program, but to thrive so that they go off and are inspired to shape a brighter future for all. So inclusive excellence speaks to the fact that in order for the outcome of our engineering endeavors to be excellent, to maximize the positive impact on society, we need to be inclusive of people who represent all parts of society. So that's the concept behind inclusive excellence. And it does support a greater diversity of people to come in, but it's not lowering the standards. It's actually helping people meet the standard, because that's what the nation needs. We want to be maintaining technological leadership in the long term.
And does this continue to be part of your agenda as the president of the NAE?
My agenda is, of course, to advance the welfare of the nation as the president of the National Academy of Engineering. And so if there are schools that are already doing a good job in inspiring and supporting the success of a greater number and diversity of students to succeed in becoming engineering leaders, then we should, like Penn or Berkeley or other top engineering institutions, we should actually help other institutions learn from our experiences, adopt best practices to to lift all boats. The average graduation rate from engineering degree programs in the United States, you might know, is less than 50%. So there's an opportunity there. Can we somehow help students who start in engineering programs finish successfully at a higher rate? That doesn't mean that everybody should become an engineer, but I think for our country to be leading in an era where people in society are so dependent on technology, it's only in the nation's best interest for more of our leaders in government, leaders, so that means people in law and political science, but also our doctors, our business leaders. If more of them have some engineering education and training and the skill set, that will only benefit the nation.
I think this is a big challenge. We somehow want to lower the barrier to entry and yet not compromise on our standards for excellence. I think we need to embrace this challenge
Yes.
nationwide.
I would say we should not, I really don't think that we're trying to lower barriers, because there are barriers in place for good reason, because people's lives and livelihoods do depend on the products that engineers design and build. So we can't lower the standards, because that could put people's lives at risk. What we can do is bolster people's ability and I guess motivation to succeed in overcoming those barriers. I mean, there's a reason why engineers are well compensated. It's because it's valuable knowledge and skills that they gain. We just want to help more people gain those knowledge and skills to contribute to society.
Fair point. Fair point. Switching gears a little bit, I wonder if we could talk a little bit about how we might more effectively work. We, meaning universities, might work more effectively with government, with private institutions, with industry. Again, going back to your days at Berkeley and now at the NAE, do you see models of collaboration that are working well that you would encourage other institutions to adopt?
Yes. So my area of expertise is in semiconductors, and the semiconductor industry in the United States has been working to foster better collaboration and therefore alignment between educational outcomes and industry needs for the last few years. And now with the new National Network for Microelectronics Education that is being supported by the National Science Foundation, I think we will make tremendous progress in promoting models of collaboration between industry, government, and academia. And my hope is that those successful models and best practices for education, for mentorship, and the wraparound services to support student success, we can adapt those to other industry sectors, because the United States does need to stay ahead in multiple industry sectors to have a prosperous future.
Are you optimistic about the future of engineering?
I think generally engineers are optimists because they have the knowledge and skills to make a change for the better. So by nature, engineers generally should be optimistic.
I had to ask that question because sometimes you look around you and you see everything going the wrong way, and you have to take strength in the fact that you're an engineer, and that gives you some optimism.
Yeah. So we have the skills to solve problems and to do so collaboratively, and that makes it so much more enjoyable. So to answer your question about the field of engineering, yes, I'm optimistic. I think that a lot of people are now seeing the need for more engineers in this country, and we can work together to address that need and make our profession even more rewarding for all.
We talked about this a little bit. I think the optimism works only if we have the talent that can build on this optimism and everything good that comes out of engineering. And
yes,
again, what do you think of the talent pipeline, particularly in the U.S., and what else should we be doing in order to bolster up that pipeline?
Well, there's certainly a lot of untapped talent across the United States. So I think multiple people whom I've talked with have put it well that talent is distributed across the nation, but opportunities not necessarily. So what can we do to bring more opportunities to the students where they're at? This is how, in this modern age, the digital age, we can actually leverage technology to include a greater number of talented students from across the nation.
Any advice you would give students or early career engineers about how they approach their jobs and how they can extend their impact beyond the classroom and the lab to society?
Yes, I've noticed throughout my career that there are some key attributes of successful leaders in life and in engineering profession. And first of all is empathy. So you might think of this as a soft skill, but if you're not an empathetic person, that means you're not able to relate well with, let's say, your team members. If you're trying to work together effectively as a team, people have different perspectives and talents. How do you work effectively? You need to be able to understand and other people's ideas and perspectives to bring out the best, most ingenious solutions. So that's one reason empathy is important. But also you're creating something new that hasn't existed before for the benefit of people. So if you can't relate to the people whom you're trying to help, then you won't be as effective in developing a solution that will really benefit them. Secondly, the ability to learn and adapt. So going into college, you learn and you earn a degree, but that's not the end of your learning journey. Learning is a lifelong experience. And with the pace of change in this world accelerating, it's even more important to learn how to learn. And not only that, but adapt. You got to adapt continually to different opportunities and challenges. And finally, excellent communication skills. That's an important skill if you want to be successful in life as well as a leader. But communication means also listening. So can you listen constructively to understand other people's perspective, understand their needs, and also be able to receive and to give feedback constructively. These are important skills to cultivate, hopefully when you're a student rather than when you're on the job. And universities give you a safe space to that. You can practice and hone your skills as a communicator. I think generally, fundamentally, the better you can communicate, the work you do, your impact on society, the more successful you will be because people will appreciate you and they'll promote you, your ideas, your products. So those are the three things I think that every engineering student should really know about what it takes to succeed as an engineering professional.
So if there's one idea that you hope that listeners will take away from this conversation as to the role that engineering plays in society or engineers play in society, what would that be?
Well, it's pretty straightforward. Engineers play a vital role in society. They're the ones who develop solutions to problems to improve everybody's lives. And hopefully more and more people will be inspired and become engineers rather than simply appreciating engineers in the future.
Thank you for that final word. Dr. Liu,
you.
it's been a pleasure to have you on this podcast.
My pleasure. Thank you, Vijay.
Dr. Liu, thank you so much for sharing your insights, your vision, and spending time with us today. It's clear that the future of engineering is promising, and hearing it from someone at the very forefront of the future has been inspiring. For our listeners, please subscribe to Penn Engineering's Innovation and Impact podcast series on your favorite podcast platform and watch a video of this recording on Penn Engineering's YouTube channel. We'll see you next time.